Hard Hat's all about showing up to play hard, doing what it takes to win.
If you want to cement legacy, win another.
More Luke.
He's your third center.
You don't want to pump him up too much, but it's hard not to.
This might surprise you, but this is maybe the most I've ever agreed with you.
Oh my, oh my, oh my. We got an interesting one tonight. This game, welcome in everybody. Bobby Manning, Noa Dalzell here, Jimmy T. I'm your host tonight. John Zanis couldn't make it. He's in bed, I guess, again. This one was not the way we thought it was going to go. Do not pull up the tapes of the last show where Bobby started to make fun of the Magic roster, one player at a time, and said the Celtics had no, or the Magic had no chance of losing this one. They do. The Magic win. The Celtics lose 108-104. I guess I will put the score to this game up since Amit must be sleeping as well. 108-104. Celtics fall to the Orlando Magic, the undermanned Orlando Magic. The Celtics without Jayson Tatum tonight, out with an illness. Maybe we'll get a little bit more on that after this game, although I'm not holding my breath. Typically, Joe and the organization's pretty tight-lipped there. But Tatum didn't play in this one. Regardless, this isn't a game that the Celtics should have even been close. Never mind lose the game. They had an opportunity late in that fourth quarter there. Down one with the ball. Celtics, I think it was Holiday, gets the ball over to Al Horford in the corner. Bobby was getting ready to write the article as the ball doesn't go through the hoop, unfortunately, rims out, and then Magic come down the other end. Is it Da Silva with the 3-pointer?
Yeah.
The dagger shot, and the Magic take this one, 108-104. Disappointing loss. Interesting fourth quarter, a little bit of little emotions running high there between both sides. Porzingis getting into it a little bit. We'll get into that maybe as well. But I'm going to throw it to you guys. We'll start with you, Bobby. Takeaways from this loss. As the losses, I'm not going to say they're piling up, but we're starting to see.
I was just trying to think 4 over the last 10, right? So
starting to see more losses than you probably imagined you'd be seeing in such a short amount of time. So we'll start with you, Bobby, and then Noah, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, it's an awful one. And in fact, I just said on Twitter, it's probably the worst one over the last 2 years, I'd say, just given the personnel on the other side and given the personnel you had. Yes, I know Tatum was out, but Brown gives you 33 there, and you have the rest of your lineup intact. I think you have to win this game, especially where the Magic only put up 108. This was dreadful offensively for the Celtics here. Turnovers flying everywhere, lack of execution. The Magic took the 3 away, and you really didn't know what to do after that.
Imagine that. Just taking the 3 away instead of bitching and moaning about how many are being taken.
Yeah, and not great execution late either. And everyone's freaking out about Horford. I think that's the least of the concern out of this one. He's been a good shooter all year. I think he hits those shots regularly, and I like him taking that in that spot. You can't, as Joe often says, think that you're going to have a better look than the first one you did. And it wasn't a great look. There's a defender flying in, and I do want to get another look at it here when I have a chance to. But in real time, I didn't hate that look. But I hated the offense in this game. Even Brown, who was tremendous, was able to get off floater after floater at the end, really played ISO heavy one-on-one game for much of this one, played in crowds, got stuffed at one point down the stretch there by Suggs and had some, key misses down the stretch as well. But no one really showed up to help him in this one. Holiday misses early. Horford had a rough shooting game overall, aside from that shot there. And of course, no Tatum makes a difference here, but I just thought the offense crumbled after the Magic took the away 3s early, and then just an awful defensive game against a team that's 23rd in offense, and probably worse when you consider what they're missing in a game like this. They're probably like a bottom 5 offense with the guys that they have here. And Cole Anthony was great. They had some guys step up, to Silva with the shot there, but I mean, this one's just inexcusable. I'm not going to let them off the hook for this because Tatum wasn't out, or Tatum was out rather.
Noah, what you got?
Yeah, I don't want to like be a caricature here. I don't think this was like the worst loss of the last 2 seasons. I actually feel like this is kind of the kinds of losses that we know to expect against an Orlando team that's given them a lot of issues over the last few years. And I don't know that it really matters that much that they were down, their stars, because historically these are the kinds of the game that the Celtics drop. I was so impressed with Orlando's effort, and I know this is the Celtics postgame show, so that's not the point here. But
No, you
I think
can say
they
it.
did.
Yeah.
I think they did a lot of things that deserve praise, and the fact that you had guys that really had never played substantial minutes come out and put together the types of performances they did. Like there was a lot of this game was also won by Orlando as much as it was lost by Boston. That being said, I'm looking at the big picture here. I think this game highlighted a couple things that we know to be a little bit concerned about with the Celtics. For one, they haven't been the 3-point shooting team this season that they were last year. They're right around the league average. We talked about this a couple of games ago. And so I don't know exactly what that is. I think some of it is like some individual personnel, some guys just not having the same shooting, numbers they were putting up last year. Part of it is they're just not getting the same clean looks that they were getting early last season, where it just felt like they were swinging the ball and just kind of slicing through deep defenses. And so that's kind of what I'm thinking about in this game is how many games now have we seen where they're just not hitting. It's typically not just like, oh, everybody's just in a slump. Like there's some systemic things that are going on too. And then also I think guys like Drew Holiday are coming back to earth a little bit from what last season was his career years. So I'm less concerned about like them losing this game, more so just the fact that the 3-point shooting thing is no longer just a game or two. It's a bigger picture trend now. And then the physicality, I just want to say for all the NBA fans that have been saying they want a more physical NBA, that's what it looks like. I enjoyed watching it and everybody else seems to have hated it. So I think people should make up their minds on whether they like this type of basketball or not, because this was a really physical game.
Who doesn't like physicality? Who doesn't like
I don't know. I said that I was very impressed with this Magic team. Everybody was coming at me on Twitter. They were mauling people and it was dangerous and all this other stuff. So I think this was a great game, personally. I'm just curious if that's the temperature check that people feel right now. I feel like that was a great basketball game that the Celtics lost. But I think that's the kind of stuff people want to see, right? So we got it in a pretty big dose tonight. But yeah, I'm a little worried about the 3-point shooting and just whether it's just a little streak here or it's something larger that was kind of their thing last year, right? I mean, we know that. And if they're league average, it's not anymore.
Was it something the Magic did, or was it something the Celtics did regarding the 3-pointers? I mean, 25% tonight. I think they were 30% last game, but they only took, I mean, as shocking as the field goal makes are, the attempts are just as shocking now, 33.
Yeah, I mean, they ran a defense that's pretty similar to what they've seen in years past from Toronto that I think the Pacers did there, where they're just sending extra bodies out to the 3-point line. They're picking up higher. They're staying in the body. So they're actually allowing you to drive into help. And, Brown, I think, did a good job attacking that help because oftentimes it's smaller defenders and he's just able to get the ball up over them. But it makes it a little more unpredictable. And, the Celtics turned it over a ton in this game. And, they try to get some inside looks against the more vulnerable defenders inside. But oftentimes they threw awful passes in there. They lost the ball when they got it inside or just missed in traffic, when the Magic scrambled back in there. And I do think the Magic, to Noah's point, did a phenomenal job scrambling back inside to be able to recover after they ran the Celtics off the line there. So this is a special defense. And I do think that's what the Magic are able to do, even with other guys out, is still play that defensive style. And, still have a big physical guy out there like Batadze and Carter and, just layers and layers. Even Jonathan Isaac, like you're down a couple key perimeter front court players in this game and you still have all that size. So they're impressive defensively. I think only the Thunder have a better defense than them. But they don't have an offense in a game like this. And I know they hit some threes. I know they were able to, make some timely baskets throughout this one. And Cole Anthony, again, deep off their bench. He hadn't been playing really all year up until the last week here. He came through in a big way, but when your opponent puts up 108, you got to be able to score. And again, maybe they win this game if Tatum's in there. They probably do. But you have everybody else left at your disposal. And, I'm going to move right on to the coaches because I don't think this was a great coach game from the Celtics.
Okay.
They played bigger early when it was clearly getting stagnant. They still have all these wings sitting on the bench, and they had everybody here today. Like I don't know why you don't give Peterson a look in a game like this. I don't know why you only play Hauser 17 minutes, even if he was limited. I think they just carried over that approach that they played against Chicago and try to use it again here until they ended up in too big of a hole to adjust. And, you're looking thin right now. I know Hauser played tonight. That concern's out the window for at least a game here. But he wasn't able to get a shot off in this one. And you really didn't adjust rotation-wise. There was a point in this game where they tried to get a challenge off and weren't able to do it quickly enough. There was another challenge play down the stretch where they did get it off, but weren't sure if they wanted to, and they end up losing that one. Mm-hmm. And then it's the smallest of all these gripes, but why didn't they use a timeout on that last play to draw something up there with like 7 seconds left? Right. And they like the refs thought it was so obvious that they were going to do it that they actually gave it to them accidentally.
Well, I think they wanted to go in transition, right? I mean, that's kind of what maybe.
Yeah, which I could see. That could go either way.
Once the refs blew it, then maybe call the timeout. Right.
Yeah.
Right. I felt like the call was kind of made for them at that point. But yeah, I think that's absolutely right. I mean, I do feel like Sam Hauser, I've said this before, but Sam Hauser's shot attempts are if you didn't watch the game and you're trying to figure out if the Celtics had a good offense, look at Sam Hauser's shot attempts. He got 0 off tonight. Part of it is he played more limited minutes. He's not quite himself yet, but generally speaking, that is the biggest cheat code to assessing the Celtics offense. Like him getting 0 3-pointers when he's the best 3-point shooter on the team, and usually he's taking good ones when the ball is moving, is very indicative of things. And I felt like there was the one play down the stretch where Al caught it in the paint and swung it to Derek White in the corner, and Derek hit the 3, and I think that cut it to 5 or something like that with a few minutes to go. And I was like, why does this play feel so like, I feel like I haven't seen a play like that in so long in this game. Just a clean, like, dish it to the middle, kick it out to a 3. We didn't really see good ball movement at all. It was one of the worst ball movement games that we've seen that I can remember, honestly. That was a really bad ball movement game. And I don't want to put it on Tatum not being out, but it certainly doesn't help. I think also the fact that nobody else could hit made it so that Jalen really had to take control, and he was efficient, so you can't put the blame on him. But
yeah, I'll give him credit for
made it so they never really had to find a rhythm. Because he was kind of bailing them out a little bit. Porzingis was kind of bailing them out a little bit with just the free throws. But they never really got anything going as a team.
13 assists for the Celtics tonight.
18 turnovers.
That is that's a tough ratio. 13 assists, 18 turnovers.
It was a mess of a game, and the Magic mucked it up, right? They wanted to do that. They wanted this game to be out of control, and it did. This was a unique game to watch in terms of the pace and physicality and fouls flying everywhere. You mentioned the fight, Jimmy. You knew that was coming at some point. I feel like the Magic probably getting more fights than anyone in the league. And Mo Wagner wasn't even out there tonight, who's usually in the middle of all that. So this was impressive. I'm sure the Magic were fired up too. It was really emotional. I'm sure you saw a lot of the videos of the last couple of days of them reacting to Wagner tearing his ACL. So they came out with another level of intensity. I mean, there were some plays in this game, like the one where Anthony was dribbling around the world, almost lost it in the corner against Porzingis, and then just went right by him and hit a reverse.
That was sick.
Suggs was awesome. I didn't know if he was going to be back for this one, Jimmy, going back to your thing about who was going to be there for this one. And that made a big difference for them too. I mean, he's a defensive player of the year caliber guy. So they're awesome. They're awesome. It's definitely a team that you could see in the playoffs if they get healthier here into the new year. And the way that they've been able to stay alive through what would normally be debilitating injuries to their 2 biggest scorers and 2 key rotation guys on top of it, and Suggs missing the last game too. This is impressive stuff, and their coach, he knows what he's doing. There's no doubt about that.
When's Banchero supposed to be back?
He's cleared for on-court activity, so I think it's relatively soon. He's the first one in the group here, but he's missed 25 games. I didn't know how long it's been. It was really so early in the year that happened.
Yeah, this Magic team. I mean, is that one of the? I'm not saying they discovered something tonight. I'm sure a lot of teams know this about the Celtics, and we've talked about it. And I got blasted on Twitter from a few people because they got all bent out of shape because I said, historically, the Celtics team is not like your prototypical tough team. They're not gonna bully you around. That's not who they've been the last couple of years. That's not who they are now. They're gonna beat you at the 3-point line. They're gonna beat you in transition. They're gonna beat you that way. They're not gonna push you around and bully you and get physical. And I think sometimes when that happens to them, that's how they can that's how you can kind of see one slip
Let's
away.
talk
And I
about
don't
the
know if that's
athleticism too.
the athleticism, absolutely.
I think
That's
only one
another
player
thing.
stacked up athletically in this game, and it was Brown. And on the other end, you got Isaac flying around and Suggs and young guys. Anthony,
Yeah.
a great
I mean, I'm not
athlete
going to
there.
say right here, Tarmac wants me to say the Celtics are soft. I'm not going to say they're soft. I don't think they're soft. I think they have some tough players on the team. I just think on a night like tonight, they got bullied. That doesn't mean that they're
Let's
soft.
go to the fight. I don't know. What'd you make of it, Noah? I
Hilarious
still don't know what
fight.
happened there.
Yeah, I can't figure it out either.
Well, what happened was Bitadze, right? That's the pronunciation. He was like trying to de-escalate, but he went for Porzingis's neck, and I had to rewatch it. I was like, did he really go for Porzingis?
But why was
That's what he did.
Porzingis going at Suggs or vice versa?
I don't think we know. I think they were just.
I think they were just
going at it.
emotional,
They were
fired
just
up,
going at it,
point in the game. Yeah, guys.
Yeah, and then when Bitadze
guys
came
being
over, it
dudes.
blew up.
Yeah.
Well, that's the part that didn't really make sense to me. I mean, just randomly starts to choke the guy. You just shove your
It's so
hand
random.
over his neck out of nowhere.
And then did you guys?
Yeah, go ahead. You're gonna say what?
No,
I'm gonna say.
please.
No, go.
I was gonna say that his reaction on the bench, he thought that
Yeah.
Porzingis was getting ejected, and so he was doing the whole and then he got ejected. So
And someone goes, "You just got ejected." He goes, "Me?" And then he just walked away and left. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, you can't.
It was
do
one
that.
of those clips where it's like when people that question the NBA's like toughness and fight. I was like, this is kind of a lame fight to have replayed like
this
7
is the one that's
times.
gonna make. Yeah, this is gonna make the highlight reel. But it seemed like that. It seemed like Porzingis and Suggs, it was just kind of like a little back and forth about the replay, and then, yeah, Bitadze just kind of came out of the clouds and just tried to choke him out. So, I'm exaggerating a bit there, but yeah, that was an interesting little event that occurred in a tough fourth quarter. I mean, the Celtics gave it's not often where the Celtics find
Second half
themselves,
as a whole.
yeah,
Just awful.
second half. And again, if you want to talk about the toughness a little bit more, I mean, we got a lot of people in the chat calling the Celtics soft, saying they're getting pushed around, getting bullied. Noah's pointing it a little bit more towards the Celtics' lack of ball movement, but are the two hand in hand? I mean, are they just kind of getting pushed out of their, rhythm
I think
and
the reality
rotations
is,
there?
Jimmy, I think the reality is it's so hard for any basketball team at any level to not suffer defensively when your shots aren't falling. And this team has been pushed a little bit to the brink of this question of, can you continue to play the same level defense when you're not hitting your shots? And it's been game after game after game that they're just not shooting well. Like even in Chicago, outside of Tatum, they were not shooting well in that game. And so it is impacting them. I don't think it's the only thing. I mean, I don't want to diminish from Orlando's defense. Like they do have one of the best defenses in the league, but you saw them tonight. I felt like just there were so many loose balls that they tried to get and they didn't get. Orlando hits a 3 off the backboard. The Celtics miss an easy look. And you could just feel that it was all compounding, and then it does impact their effort. It does impact their ability to kind of stay locked in. And it's human nature. Like it's literally, you could look at a 10-year-old basketball team and it would be the same thing. And obviously, as the Celtics, you want to be able to be bigger than that and better than that. But I think there have been moments this season where they've just succumbed to it, and there's been other times where they've continued to play really good defense through those stretches. But there was a lot of adversity in this game. Like for a basketball game, that was like a game with a lot of adversity where just things weren't going their way. And I think they responded okay, but not great. And the rotation didn't help. The fact that they got pretty much nothing off the bench. I didn't think Luke was great. He fumbled quite a few passes and just seemed a little bit lost considering how he's been playing pretty well, this recent stretch. Hauser, as we said, 0 threes off the bench. Pritchard didn't do much considering, he's had some games where these are the kinds of games that he would have bailed him out of. Maybe a couple weeks ago, he didn't have one of those big performances. So they just didn't have enough too. Jimmy, you're muted.
I'll go to this now, Noah, because this was on my mind throughout the game.
You muted me. No, I was gonna say real quick, Bobby. We didn't see late game Pritchard tonight, which I thought was interesting. And a night where they needed some offense a little bit, no? Or was it the physicality?
Didn't really have it either.
No, well, nobody
I think
did.
They just went default. So
yeah,
it's a tough. You lose Tatum, your default's double big, right? They roll with that early. It's a close game, so I think rotation-wise, you were in a bit of a bind in this one, especially if Hauser was limited at all. But all the more that makes me think, why not go to some of those bench wings, especially like you said, Noah, Cornette doesn't have it early. He's not a good fit in this game, clearly. Everyone was available here. Like, you even could have tried Shireman. I don't get the Peterson thing still. Like, he had those 2 good games, then he just disappeared. And no Walsh, Tillman. I don't know if they're ever going to play him again. Like, they're getting a little tight with this bench right here, and everybody's available for this game aside from Tatum. You could have
What's
tried
it say
some
about the
stuff.
bench? I mean, what? Yeah, but what's
They
it
don't
say about
trust
what?
them.
So what we've seen in the last few weeks, we've kind of been seeing Joe give each guy a shot, right? In some capacity. One of those guys gets a little bit more burn than the other, and he's kind of been rotating through. And now tonight, it's none of them. Kind of tells me that he's said,
Last
you know
game
what?
too.
Yeah. You know what? Everybody had a chance. Nobody really took advantage of it. We're just going to go back to, playing the starters the way that we need to play them. There's been a lot of downtime, been a lot of off days. So it's not like these guys really need the rest. Now, no Tatum tonight. There's a lot of minutes that are, being taken up there by him that you can move around and get creative with. And Joe just decided not to. So lack of creativity, lack of trust. I don't know which way you want to go with it. But on some nights, we're talking about the Celtics like, oh, they're the deepest team in the league with this bench. And then on other nights, we're scratching our head wondering, outside of Hauser and Pritchard and Al, I guess,
And
who's even
JD
capable of being in the league?
Peterson wasn't even active for this game, by the way. They had Davison active over him, which I don't really get.
Well,
That is strange.
right?
I didn't realize that. Yeah, I think you're right, Jimmy, that guys have been getting an opportunity to play. And as much as, I think there's things to be impressed with, especially because these are guys that haven't played all year. So we're going to focus on the positives. The reality is that nobody has really separated themselves. What was it?
I said, oh, no, we're not.
Well, I'm speaking for myself here. I've had a positive take on most of these guys as a end of bench super fan. But I do think that ultimately none of these guys have separated themselves from the pack. And there's a reason. I think Joe will give everybody a chance, but when they have a bad stint that he attributes to that guy being on the floor, or at least that player wasn't helpful during that stretch, he doesn't really go back to them. Xavier Tillman had that one game that he started a couple months ago. And then they went down big, and then he never really came back into the rotation. Jaden Springer the other day was the fourth quarter. I don't think we'll see Springer again for a while after that slow start. Drew Peterson, even his last stint that he played did not go great. We forget that because he had several good stints before, but it tends to be that once there is an opportunity, like I don't have a take on whether or not this is right or not, but I think there's a certain level of trust. But then when you see certain levels of mistakes, those guys are on a pretty tight leash here.
We've said this before, Jimmy, and we've said it right with Brad, Ime. It's every coach. It's not just a Joe thing. But these guys lower on the roster, these younger guys, you can't just give them 2 shots, 5-10 minutes in one game, and if it doesn't go well, bury them forever. Peterson specifically, who I like what he gave to them in those spots. One bad stint in the last game and he's out of there. I just don't understand it.
To an extent, we were talking about first round picks though, Bobby. We were talking about Denise Smith. We were talking about Romeo. The guys that you're talking about.
I mean, Shireman, first round pick, hasn't gotten a shot.
Shireman's a first round pick. I think. Yeah, right. I mean, he hasn't gotten much of a chance. Late first round pick. So again, maybe not the same level of upside, at least in the rookie year. And again, these teams this is a team that has championship aspirations, repeat aspirations. So you wouldn't really expect a rookie to come in unless he was really just dominating in practice or really showing out, outside of the games. Some of these other guys we're talking about, Springer, Davison, Peterson, just put this nicely, like these are kind of like borderline NBA players right now, guys. I mean, it's not really so much. You can't just put them out there 15 minutes a game and just wait for it to click for them. Like there's too much else going on with this team right now. This isn't a rebuilding team where you can afford to do that. So I kind of understand not seeing them a whole lot, but on the nights where they get the opportunity, Jimmy, what?
If you take them out of the mix, they're going to be out of the mix later. I mean, unless obviously guys go down and you have to play them, but you have to target a guy or multiple players or just have some rotation built here where guys can get regular opportunities. Like Shireman, to this point, you're not going to have, unless something changes in the second half of the year, you're not going to have him at any point in this season. Peterson, you're not building him into a role where he could potentially be part of the rotation or, part of the standard roster down the line. Again, you shouldn't have to rely on these guys, but we are getting to a point in this season and, where this rotation's going, where these guys are just getting completely buried.
Mm-hmm. We're going to do
we got some stuff out of Joe here too. Oh, go ahead.
All right, let's do a quick ad read and then we'll go right into what you got. Noah, why don't you accumulate some Joe quotes for us while I do this amazing read. We'll talk about our friends at Game Time. It is the holiday season. Christmas is upon us. Hanukkah is upon us for our Jewish Celtics fans out there. Christmas Day, guys, I know that there's football this year, but it's always going to be NBA to me. I know that we got NFL sticking their nose out there too. But if you're a fan of live sporting events, Game Time is the place to go to check them out, whether it's the NBA on Christmas or whether it's the NFL on Christmas. We've got Celtics, Sixers on Christmas Day, and I would be checking out Game Time right now. You're going to be done.
That game.
You're going to be done opening presents by the time Celtics game rolls around. You're going to be done with the Christmas ham. Maybe toss open the Game Time app and see what the prices are for that game and get down there for a little, Christmas evening basketball game. I'm certainly going to think about doing it. Will you guys be at the game?
Yes,
Bobby
sir.
will.
Okay, so that's even another reason to go. They've got all-in pricing. You can toggle the feature on to show the totals up front with no surprise fees at checkout. You can see the view of your seat before you purchase it, which is important. You don't want to buy something you don't know what you're buying. They get the lowest price guarantee, so you can buy your tickets on the Game Time and rest assured you're getting it at the lowest price. And then they'll cover you. Something comes up, they've got the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industries. You can also talk about customize. You can customize your search settings and figure out where it is what games you want to go look into. We've got some Patriots games still wrapping up. You want to catch Drake May before he turns into. I guess John Zanis thinks he's going to be the next MVP, so you can catch him at a good price before that happens. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for live events even easier. Filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today. Create an account and use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Noah, what time is it?
It's Game Time.
It's Game Time, baby. All right, Bob.
So I found a note in Himmelsbach's column, I think this week or maybe last week, that kind of flew over everyone's head. But he said that the Celtics are starting to monitor the non-guaranteed waiver wire into January because some dates are going to come up into January where you could waive guys, get a partial break on their salary, maybe get out of their salary in full in some cases. And obviously they have the roster spot open here. And I do find that curious because I think we all sat here going into the year saying, yeah, they got that extra roster spot. They'll probably just convert someone or maybe wait till the very end of the year and sign someone for nothing and save them the tax money there. But, if they see someone they like here, or obviously you got the deadline coming up February 6th, I believe, could they be more active than we think, Noah, especially with the bench stuff that we're talking about here?
I expect them to do something. Heck, they did something last year, and I feel like last year that roster was pretty solid across the board. And I think there's a clear the backup wing thing is a clear question on this roster because Sam Hauser has not been the same Sam Hauser of last year for injury reasons mostly. And I think the other guys that they've had in the mix, nobody has established themselves and had the breakthrough that maybe they were hoping for. So I expect them to do something in the name of like trying to draw a backup wing. I think that there's going to be I don't think it's going to be anything massive. But there are some players that just haven't panned out. I mean, I don't think that this is what they expected from Xavier Tillman this season. I don't know that their expectations were sky high. I mean, they got them on a minimum deal, but I would assume that they hoped for a better season from him than what they're getting, which is nothing, right? So I think there's a couple of guys that have underperformed a little bit, and everybody's going to be active, like exploring possibilities. But I think this team is going to probably do something heading into the trade deadline. I don't think it's going to be massive though.
Bobby,
Do they need to move, Jimmy?
no. I don't need to move. That would be. I don't even know what they can do. But there's always. So wait, so you're saying it's a non-guaranteed. What was the actual note?
That's
Who are
a
the non-guaranteed
non-guaranteed
guys that they could?
I'm looking at the list. It's not great. I don't even know who would shake loose from this group.
Well,
I'm
why don't
seeing
you read a
Bruno
few?
Fernando. Like he's a big and he's been here before.
I don't think that's the answer.
PJ
I mean, you're
Dozier.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting guys. I mean, you're getting the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's
we're
a
talking
reason
about
why
like buyout level guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Taylor Horton
Right.
Tucker.
No.
I mean, it's not going to be
Even
great.
about watching him in person the other night, I wasn't moved.
Who's the one guy though that is overseas right now, and we keep talking about him?
No, we can't
So
do
that's-
another Lonnie Walker segment.
We're not going to do a
can't.
Lonnie Walker segment, but that's another player that's going to be available. We can all agree is going to be available. And the
Yes.
Celtics,
And I think he'll get picked up by somebody.
and I think the Celtics are a front runner based on the fact that they had him in before the season. There's obviously relationships there. So maybe there was some communication about, hey, you know what, Lonnie, go over here. Let's let this thing shake out for a bit, and maybe we'll see in a few months. That could be a very possible reality. I don't know, but I think everybody would agree that Lonnie Walker is playing, and you guys have been keeping up with him, I think, over there, is playing at a level that theoretically should be able to help an NBA team. Even if it's just spot duty, coming in, spark the team, whatever. If certainly Brad isn't sold on the back half of this roster or the bottom third of this roster, not Brad, what did I just say? Brad? I meant to say Joe. Joe isn't sold because we're not seeing these guys getting the type of playing time. He would certainly be open to bringing in a player that can contribute. So we'll have to see how that shakes out. Otherwise, yeah, you're talking about guys that wouldn't sniff playing time on this Celtics team. Now,
and I think honestly, nobody that they get midseason is going to play in the playoffs, just simply because of how difficult their defensive system is. We heard a lot about that with Tillman last year, with Springer, that they came in midseason in February trying to figure out like how to fit onto this team. Like, it's going to be really hard for anybody to play this like random defense that they play, where they all kind of know where the other player is and they're constantly trying different schemes out that doesn't have that experience. Like, that's the Lonnie Walker concern too. That even if he comes in and can like score a little bit, I don't know that he's going to earn anybody's trust for like real playoff minutes.
But it's injury insurance, right? Because we're seeing what happens when these guys are one or two guys are out. There's not one or two guys that are sliding into that rotation right now. They don't exist on this roster really. So you don't bring in the guy assuming full health. You bring in the guy assuming maybe there's going to be a game or there could be a series. You know, with Hauser, who knows? Porzingis, you never know. These guys sometimes can be in and out of the lineups, and you might need to bring in a guy that can fill in when there's an injury or a game or so that you don't have full roster.
Yeah, that's what we talked about with him at the time, right? In terms of someone who's going to be able to fill in and take on a larger role if necessary. He's probably about as good of a bet as any player available to them at doing that. So yeah, if we get to a point where there's a major injury with the Celtics and someone has to fill in at that spot,
knock on wood,
like that's probably already going to be pretty prohibitive for them reaching the championship outside of the big men, because I think they're pretty good at that spot. Like a Tatum, Brown, even a Holiday or a White, I think is going to be, next to impossible outside of, Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser being able to step into those spots. So I don't think that's what it's about here. I think it's about.
What do you think of this comment? Hauser, Holiday, Horford are worse than last season. I mean, we're talking about what, we're not going to. Why are we
Horford?
Why are we wasting time talking about Springer and Peterson and Let's talk about the guys who are on the court and who are clearly, or in your opinion, I guess, Bobby, not as clearly,
The Hauser thing's massive.
worse.
Yeah, I don't know how many times we can say it. We've been hammering that. This might just be something he has to deal with all season long. It's great that he's been able to
Let's
fight
skip
through it and
Hauser.
get back quick.
Let's skip Hauser
please.
because
Yeah.
that's an injury.
The
That's an
holiday
injury.
thing too. I mean, you look at that, it just continues here, right? I think he's gotten a little more hesitant to shoot since the Memphis game. This was another game that started slowly for him. I know he hit one late, but he's down to 32% from three, and that is just a massive drop below where he was last year. Horford's fine. I'm not worried about him. The other guy I was looking at during this game is Jalen, who is down to that 31-32 range here too, and not like you ever relied on him for great three-point shooting, but it needs to at least be good. And when you have multiple guys, Noah, who are dropping off over the last year, you can throw Porzingis into that too, who has struggled from three since he returned. You're a middle of the pack three-point shooting team, and I do think the volume has had something to do with that too, right? And it falls in line with this trend around the league where teams are shooting more threes, but the percentage is lower across the league this year. And I think the Celtics are dealing with that a little bit here too. Like, you can't just expect your average to maintain while you're taking more threes, because obviously there's going to be extra threes mixed in there that are probably ill-advised.
Yeah, I would say the only players that have been definitively better than last season are Pritchard, obviously, and I do think Tatum has been better. Although he was very good last regular season as well. It was the playoffs where he struggled a bit, but they're the only two players on this roster that are better. I don't think White's better than last season.
White's probably been the same.
He started it off, and then he's cooled down a little bit. So he's been pretty similar.
White was all-star level. White was kind of playing all-star type basketball to start the year.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be an all-star anymore, but I was pretty
I don't have any worries about him.
No, I don't have any worries about Drew Holiday either, honestly. Like I watched Drew Holiday be one of the best teams on one of the most reliable players on the Olympic team in June. I think he's fine. I'm looking at his numbers. First 34 games last year, he was averaging with 13 points a game. Like he was pretty in and out offensively last year. He was struggling at the rim. It was just that the corner threes were historic, and that really, really was a release valve for the Celtics offense. And then in the playoffs, he rose to another level. And I did not see that Drew Holiday offensive leap coming in the playoffs, but he really did. I mean, so many massive games where he just took advantage of the fact that he had the worst defender on him. I feel confident that right now, if we were going into the playoffs, we would see similar performances from him. There's no reason to think that he's not capable of doing what he did last year, because he wasn't doing this last year either at this time. I don't want to say he's coasting, but I think there's a certain level of, he is older. He has a lot of miles under him, and he's played a lot of basketball over the last year. And I still think he's been fine. It's just, he's not, I think there's another gear that he can get to that we don't have any reason. I think he won't get there. We do have some stuff out of Joe. I don't know if you want to hear it, but
yeah,
we got some quotes from him.
I
didn't realize this, but
you got to say it the way Joe would say it, though.
Oh, I'm not even going to attempt to do that. Joe Mazzulla, when asked about Queen and Da Silva, both low percentage 3-point shooters, combining to go 7 of 12 from behind the arc, there weren't defensive breakdowns. I thought our defense kept us in it. Our offense let us down. I kind of feel like this is kind of what I was saying earlier, but I do think the offense is really the ball movement. The offense was more the story here. I didn't realize both those guys aren't shooters, since I'll be honest, I didn't know much about either of those guys going into this game. But I think Joe will always stick with the fact that if guys aren't historically good shooters, like they're going to live with them going 7 of 12. It kind of reminds me of when they were at OKC last year and Josh Giddey had a good shooting game, and Joe was just kind of like, well, that's the game plan. Like, we're not overly concerned about the outcome. So I do think the story of this game was offense. Sounds like Joe said that too. And then he also talked about Tatum's absence. He says, we have enough. Obviously, you want to have one of your best players, but it's not really a challenge. It's just, we did what we had to do. We got off to a good start. We just had a tough third quarter. And then he said, once it's a close game, you give a team like that life, they respond.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing groundbreaking from Joe.
Yeah, you give I'm not calling the Magic a bad team, but when you give a team that you're supposed to really beat and you give them a reason to believe, they're no longer like a bad team. They're no longer the team that you thought they were going in. They've got the confidence that they can take you down. And that's exactly kind of what happened. They gained that momentum in that second half there, and they just kind of out-hustled the Celtics. I'm not going to say, like cliche, they wanted it more, but they played with a little bit of an attitude tonight that the Celtics when things aren't going the Celtics way, they aren't doing enough to right the ship. They're kind of, I don't want to say floundering, but
What's their
they're not
counter right now?
they're not calling. What's that?
What's their counter right now when the threes aren't falling?
I think Porzingis in the post, Jalen attacking the rim, but it's more isolated. It's more one-on-one stuff than team basketball. That's been
Right.
the
When
team
that
basketball
happens,
results
yeah.
in open threes.
When that happens, yeah, exactly. That's when the ball is not being worked around. You can look at the assists and see that number being low, and you see a night where Jalen goes for 35 and they lose. You know.
Yeah,
and,
I think.
you know, we haven't
and I
talked
wanna
about Jalen yet, but we might as well talk about him, right? I
Yeah.
mean, this is the type of game that like John pulls his hair out for, right? Jaylen Brown goes off. John's blame pie. Exactly. This is we used to play a blame pie, and that used to be John's blame pie because we used to give pieces out, divide up the blame pie.
I didn't
Who
know
takes-
John's Jalen thing because Jalen's been so good since I joined this.
Well, it's
Yeah,
partially
John had
a
a John had a forfeit that one.
let's do blame. Wait, can we actually do blame pie? I don't think we have a real blame pie, which is sad. We need to get a real blame pie back. That
We have a panic meter.
We do have a panic meter for many reasons, but we used to have. Here we go. Look at that. How's that for blame pie? Let's play blame pie because we don't play that game that much because the Celtics.
I hate that game.
Previously, they weren't losing that much. Now they're losing a lot. We can play blame pie a lot more now, which is great. Since Noah hates the game, we'll start with Noah. Noah, divide up your blame pie in percentages. It can be 100% to one person. It can be 50% to one and 20. You know what I mean? It's any way you want to cut the pie. It's Christmas. It's pie season. I know, Noah, have you actually tried do you do pie?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we can play then. All right. Divide up your vegan pie.
I mean, it's just hard to go with individual people. It's not a. It's
Oh,
a
you
team
got to divide
game.
up the pie. I'm so sorry. Bobby, do you
I'll
have
give
your,
you a minute to
your
think about it.
slices?
Why doesn't
Alright.
Bobby go first?
I'm going 30 Drew, 20 Brown. Let's make sure I don't screw up the percentages.
You're at 50% right now.
I will go 20 Joe.
You're at 70%.
70. And then let's do 15 Kristaps, who wasn't great in this one. And
A lot of
15
slices
Luke.
here. 15 Luke. Wow. That is big of you. So, you can actually make it a team pie. You just got to cut it into 15 different slices.
Yeah, a lot of pieces in this one.
All right, I'll go.
Horford wasn't great either, but
We're not letting Noah
You wanna
off the
throw
hook.
5
though.
in 'em,
She will
whatever.
be cutting up the pie. I'm going to do mine. I'm going to give 30% to Joe because I think that there's a little bit of a trend forming here. I don't know, not a trend that I like where
Joe wasn't great
Look-
in this one.
little bit of a mental toughness thing going on, I think. I mean, again, lack of the ball movement. Noah mentioned that's got to be partially coaching a little bit because get these guys in motion, get these guys to where they want to be. Screwed up the challenge, screwed up the timeout. I'm actually going to give him 40% of the blame pie. That I'm thinking about it. I'll give 20 to Jalen. Now we're at 60. I'll give 20 to Drew. We're at 80. And I'll give
Porzingis started
One-
1 and 9 in this one.
I'll give 15 to Porzingis and 5 to Al Horford.
Yeah, Al deserves a tiny slice.
Yeah, he does. All right, Noah, you have the floor.
I
Now
want you to
everyone.
No
This
Luke for
is-
Jimmy.
Luke just doesn't. He's just not a big enough.
See, I
he's
actually- I
not
have
a
to
big
say,
enough eater to get a pie.
That was one of the worst Luke games that I've seen in a while. That was the kind of game where I'm like, that's where I think that's where the fans get the Luke animosity from. I don't actually know where they really get it from, but is that what it is? Those kinds of
I
plays?
think it is.
I felt like I was watching it and I was like, is this what they're talking about? Percentages. Okay. I'm gonna go with 20% Kristaps, 20% Drew,
Okay,
10% Al,
we're at 50.
10%, 15%, 20% Luke.
We're at 70.
Big Luke
Bobby
slice.
just looks like a shot.
That was a big slice for Luke.
What am
there,
I
yeah.
at? 70?
You're at 70.
Anything, Jalen?
I hate this. I can't explain how much I hate this. 10% Pritchard.
Wow.
Oh,
You're at
And then what do I have
80%.
left? 20?
yes.
20% Joe and the staff.
No
Joe and
Jalen,
the
You
huh?
might think,
Staff taking
why would
some
you give
shrapnel.
Luke Cornett 20%? It's because I was starting to worry that I wasn't going to get to 100 and his name popped up. So
You did it.
We had a
lot of
Congratulations.
slices
I'm
tonight.
not
I mean,
going
this
to
is
blame
like-
Jalen
Up
for
the
this
pie.
game. I'm not going to blame Jalen for this game because I think obviously I didn't love the way the offense looked. I actually hated the way the offense looked, but I don't know what came first. I feel like there was also nothing going on. And so a lot of times Jalen was one of the release valves for this team. And down the stretch, he hit basket after basket in that fourth quarter to even give them an opportunity. So I don't love him taking 29 shots, but I don't know that that was the result of like him just being selfish versus him kind of needing to take those over. I don't know. I usually when I rewatch these games, I like change half my takes. Maybe when I rewatch this, I'll feel different. But that was
I'm
my.
interested to see the Horford shot again too, and just his.
I didn't like the
overall.
Horford shot in real time, but I don't think
You
it
didn't
was,
like it?
No,
I mean,
but
they
not in a
moved
way
the
where I was like, what the hell? Why would he take that shot? It's just I didn't think that was the thing. They could have gotten a better look. He was
There
a little
was time
rushed.
left on the clock, and they were down 1. I think that was
What's Al
people's
shooting from the corners?
greatest
Let me look
gripe
it up.
with it.
I think, listen, I imagine they were going to try to get the ball to Jalen, who just didn't get it. Holiday held on to it a little bit longer. Saw Horford in the corner. Horford had a look. I mean, it wasn't like an awful miss. It actually looked pretty good on the way down, and then just a bit off there. But if Horford's in the game, standing on the corner, he's in the game for that one reason, right? To stand in the corner and take that shot if he's giving it to him. So I can't really get mad at it.
They were coming in the half court. Horford slid free. The Magic were playing way up. And then as Holiday was throwing it to Horford, I think it was De Silva snuck back and like contested him at the last second. But Horford was trying to get it off quick before he could get over there.
Yeah.
So again, he was open. He was open at the start of it, and the guy recovered fast and ended up stopping him. But it was the right idea, I think. He was wide open at the beginning of the play.
Noah's pissed
But
now.
again, I think there's
But
a
I will
lot
say-
more.
I will say, most importantly, I think that it really wasn't one person. It really was like it is just. I
That's
don't
why
love
you
the way
cut it
this
up.
team's- I hate.
That's why you cut it up. I'm so sorry. You got to cut up the
Just
pie.
so,
You
so
did
every
it.
loss we're gonna do this because I need to start prepping. I can't
Not
do this on the
every
spot.
loss. We haven't done it for every loss, but once in a while we mix it in.
Usually
We
just
gotta
losses like this.
keep the fans guessing. Everyone wants to play at home. They want to slice out the pie. It's the Christmas season. Everybody wants a piece.
I will give him a little bit of a break on the Tatum stuff. I do think it's hard to lose a guy like that minutes before the game. So I think that impacts Jalen. I think that impacts rotations. I think that impacts everything, even the
Let's
Magic.
talk Jalen. Let's talk Jalen. We haven't actually talked Jalen. We did plain pie instead, but Luis is in the chat. She obviously wants us to talk Jalen. I don't know if she's going to like what we have to say, but 35 points tonight, 15 of 29 from the field. Again, the 3-point shooting, that's not a 1 of 7 is unfortunately not something that we haven't seen before.
What do you
9
think's going
rebounds,
on
4
with his
assists.
threes, Noah? It's been going on for a while.
I mean, he's not a great 3-point shooter. He's a rhythm shooter. He hits his threes when he's hitting everything else, and then he gets hot and he's hitting threes too. And he hits big ones. I mean, obviously he's hit big ones, but he's not like. In fact, I think if there's one guy that's pushed back on the 3-point shooting over the last few years, it's Jalen because it's not his game. I would like to just see him shoot less, honestly, because I think he hasn't been shooting them at a very high level, and I feel like he knows he can get to his spots almost always. It's very unusual that I'm watching a matchup that he can't exploit who's guarding him. So I don't want to, obviously everybody's going to shoot some, but I don't know that I need to see him take 7 threes in this game.
But you have
What does
Hauser
he
not
have, what does he have
taking
for
them.
this? Yeah,
Tatum's
exactly.
not in the game. Like
He's
someone's
like
gonna-
31-32 for the year.
That's pretty low.
Is he another guy that you could say is having not a better season than last year?
No, he's definitely not having a better season than last year.
Yeah, and there's been some
They're starting
redeeming
to add up
qualities.
here a little bit.
No, yeah, and that's where you start to chip away at what we're watching here. Because I keep thinking this, Jimmy, and I think it's got to start getting reflected in the way we talk about this team. It's not the same team as last year. Like it's not flowing that way. And I'm not saying it's drastically worse or
Recently, let's not forget the start to the season where they couldn't be
right, but
touched.
it's still been different. Like the Hauser dynamic. I mean, he was there for 79 games last year, playing elite basketball off the bench for them. Pritchard has become a bigger part of this team. Holiday's become probably a smaller part of this team. Overall, I think White's role has expanded a little bit, and you're having more off nights for Tatum and Brown. Despite lower shooting numbers, I do feel like Brown's been a bigger part of this team this year in terms of handling the ball and playmaking out of the post and stuff like that too. So it's just been a different season, not to mention Porzingis having to work in late where he was rolling from the jump last season. So it's just a different team, a different dynamic. They're shooting more. I think they've doubled down on that. And the defense, and that's the big thing, Noah. I know you said a couple minutes ago that Joe wasn't concerned with the defense in this game. That's what worries me more than anything else about this team. And I've said it, Jimmy. There's some 2023. I'm not going to say it's 2023 all over again.
Wow.
But their inattention to defense at times, especially when things aren't going well, is starting to worry me a little bit. And Joe's instinct, I mean, I think Joe locked into the defense a little bit more last year, but I do think his instinct is, the defense will be fine if we do everything we need to do on offense. This is the kind of game where you have to win it with your defense. Everything's going wrong on offense. You have to lock down, strangle the Magic's offense because it's one of the worst in the league. I mean, how many times did the Magic shoot wide open threes, Noah? Wide open. And I know you're hedging off guys, but like that late De Silva one, and there was another one above the break. I think it was Queen or someone like that. I mean, there were some shots where guys had miles of space, didn't feel any resistance. I mean, I can't believe Joe said the defense wasn't a problem in this. I know he's talking about the scheme, but the Magic didn't feel them at all defensively.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's going to go back and not love the defensive, but you know how he feels about this stuff. He doesn't like that we even separated defense and offense the way that we do. I think he feels like it's all one continuous thing, and where the root of his problem, I think, is offense for this game. And this is kind of a semantics thing, but I do feel like he just doesn't like the fact that those are two distinct concepts almost. But you're right, Bobby. It's not the same defensive team that we saw last year. It's also, like you said, Joe told us from the beginning of the season that this is not the same team as last year's team, even if it's the same roster. He was like, you got guys in different positions. Brad Stevens told us the same thing. He said, we want to keep some flexibility open because it's going to be a different year. And right now, I don't feel like this team is substantially worse than last year's team, even though you have guys individually that have been playing at a less effective level. But we're about to enter a stretch here that's going to tell us a lot about this team. I think this West Coast road trip, a lot of tough games. They're going to be on the road. They're going to be facing all types of opponents. And I also feel like there's been such a slow schedule to start the year that's part of the foot off the gas thing. If you have Paolo and Franz Wagner playing in this game and Orlando's is the second seed in the East and this is the Big East showdown, you probably see a different effort. And that sucks, but that's the reality of how this league functions and how these players function. So in 3 weeks, I think we'll have a much better sense of whether or not we have real legitimate concerns or whether there was that one slide where they lost 4 and 10 and we were worried about the roster and worried about whether they were 2023. And I think it's just, we're like right before that point that we're really going to know that.
And Jimmy, they fell 3.5 back at Cleveland tonight. Like, as good as the start of the season's been, they've been looking up at Cleveland the whole way.
Well, because Cleveland, let's be honest, they had like a historically hot start to the season, but you didn't really worry about Cleveland because you're just if you're like at the Celtics team, you're not really looking at anybody else. You're just looking at yourself, right?
Yeah, and I don't think it really matters if they're the 1 seed also.
I don't think it does either. It just matters that they're healthy because when they're not, we start to see things a lot.
It doesn't matter because of the home court. It matters because of the path. Like, I think you end up with a tougher team in round 1 because you're going to get the one coming out of the winner's bracket that they play in, and then you're going to have a tougher middle path there too. So I'm not worried about them losing home court. I'm
No, that shifts. That can shift
I'd only
immediately
like to
anyways.
see them, play like because again, not to go back to like the easiest path ever debate, but that is what you get as a 1 seed. Like you get home court the whole way through, and you get the most favorable matchups.
It's going to be
theoretically
interesting
throughout.
because there are some sneaky tough teams in the East that maybe like the Magic's one of them, right? I mean, we're finding out tonight they're going to be a tough out, especially when they get healthy. Pacers have had a weird season. We don't really know what's
They're
going to
coming
happen
up.
with them. Yeah, they've given the Celtics trouble in the past, and they probably will again. Sixers, we don't know what's going to happen with them. They're struggling. We Celtics play the Sixers on Christmas. We're going to end the show with a little Celtics Sixers talk. Cavs are doing their thing. Bucks have been hot. Bobby's going to tell you all about the NBA Cup Bucks. There's teams that are starting to trend in the right direction, and then there are teams kind of like the Celtics right now who aren't. I'm not going to say trending in the wrong direction, but at the very best,
They're not playing their best.
They're not playing their best. They've got guys that have been in and out of the lineups, but they're just not. They're not in a groove right now. Maybe it's the winter doldrum. I don't know what you want to call it. Maybe it's all the off days. Maybe it's just kind of getting out of a rhythm with all the breaks they've had in between games with that cup. I don't know what it is. But something is off. We're gonna jump to Prize Picks real quick, guys. Our good friends at Prize Picks talking about big games coming up this week. It's Christmas, and I think there are 5 basketball games this week. It's going to be an unbelievable day to jump on Prize Picks. What is Prize Picks, you ask? Well, it's the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. That's right, billions. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000, not 100, 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app, guys. And like I said, it's Picksmas. On Christmas Day, Nikola Jokic only needs 1 point for you to win 1 square. So you got your squares. The more squares you pick, the higher payout you can get. You got to start with 1, though. That's an automatic 1, assuming he's going to get you 1 point, which I think we can all agree he will. This week is the 7 days of Picksmas, where Prize Picks is giving you a shot at $1 million along with daily rewards for just playing. So it's every day. It's not just Christmas Day. Picksmas is upon us. Picksmas is upon us. Make your holidays bigger and brighter with Prize Picks, the best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. Join now because this holiday season, Prize Picks is giving away 2 free picks in December. And they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Picksmas, which is, like I said, going on right now. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. You think Steph Curry's going to hit 6 threes? You think, well, we know Giannis isn't going to be doing anything on Christmas, so we won't talk about Giannis this week. A little bit of a hot topic. Giannis is a little bummed out about not playing on Christmas. You think Tatum's going to come back from his illness and hit 6 threes, whatever the number they give him is? Toss him in one of your squares, see how things go. It might be the best gift you get on Christmas Day. So download the app today and use the code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today. Use the code CLNS, get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Okay. We're about an hour in. We're gonna go a little bit longer. We do have Christmas in a couple of days, and we know people will probably want to forget about this one, but we'll go a little bit longer here. We got the kids on screen. No one's going to bed early tonight. We're gonna do some wrapping probably after this. People are up late tonight. Just got in probably from last minute shopping. You don't want to be out shopping on Christmas Eve. Do everything you can to avoid that, but I have a feeling some of us may find ourselves in that position. I know. I've been there many times. Many
times.
I will not learn. What have you guys? What haven't we hit on this game, or do you want to move on from this game? I think we've kind of touched upon it. Soft kind of performance. Joe's had a couple of off games here. A couple of missed. Whether it's a timeout or a challenge. I think they kind of got, I'm not going to say punked, but I do think that they have in the past. And I think this is one of those types of games. I don't want to say that physicality is their kryptonite. But I do think that it's one of the things that they could work on is not being on, I guess, like the receiving end of like being pushed around. Be the aggressor. Be the ones that set the tone. You came in here as the Boston Celtics. You already have a target on your back. You're playing a team that's got really nothing to lose with the roster that they're putting out there with some guys being out. But they ride the momentum, and you give a team a chance to believe that they're going to win. They're going to take that opportunity, take that chance. That's what happened tonight. Other than that, goes without saying, Tatum's playing in this game. It could be a completely different outcome. He missed this one. I don't know if Mazzulla said much about Tatum missing this game.
I didn't see anything about it.
He just said that it wasn't. It's not a challenge. He said we have enough. You obviously want to have one of your best players, but it's not really a challenge. We did what we had to do. We got up to a good start. He's never going to say like, yeah.
I mean,
he was
he's
also
kind of
at
right.
the game.
With or without Tatum, the Celtics should be able to compete in this one. They should be able to win this game.
I mean, again, I know the Magic are tough, but you're down Wagner,
right. That's what I
Gary
mean.
Harris, Paolo Banchero. It's a lot.
A lot
this
of guys.
Is a special team, though. I don't want to downplay it. Like the fact that they're 16-12, and they've only had a few losses at home, and they just outscored the Heat 37-8 in the fourth quarter of their recent comeback. Like, I don't want to say this, that's not an excuse, but this is a special team. This is not one of those letdown losses where I feel like they just collapsed and the Hornets beat them. And, they're legit. I think that they have a very special thing going on over there. And whether it's the coach or whatever it is that they've established, it's every time I watch them play, I think that. And this team, they didn't have that sustained focus today. They really didn't. Like they even lost it towards the end of the second quarter. They came out of each quarter. They didn't have the focus. And like, they've told us a million times when stars are out, like they do take it for granted. They do. They've said it so many times that's so. I think we watched that today. It's why when we were joking about this game on the Saturday, I was saying like this is actually the kind of game that they might lose because they tend to do so. We've said. I mean, Bobby, you've said this that if a team wants to beat the Celtics, their best bet is to sit your star players. I mean, it's a joke,
just
but
remove
it kind
them from the lineup.
Just take your 3 all-stars and just send them home, and you got your best chance.
It's been pretty steady. Yeah, but you got that Lakers game last year with no LeBron, no Davis. And I will say this. I know it's year 2 into this run, so it's not like the Cavs 4 years into their run, but champions do tend to flip the switch a little bit when the time comes. And I think that's where this team's at. I think that's where they've slipped up in a handful of these games is just their energy and sustained focus, as Noah said. And that was undoubtedly the biggest issue in this one here, especially going against a team that before Christmas and all that, the marquee game, you could overlook that. So I do think that has to be a factor here to some degree, but it doesn't leave me without questions about, them and, whether they're unstoppable or not. And I do think, Jimmy, we're getting to the point this year against a variety of opponents and just the way that they've played overall, where I don't think they're unstoppable. I do think there's a play style, a kind of team, and a level of talent on the other side that I do think could beat them if the time comes. It's limited. I think it's like 2 or 3 teams probably, if that. But they're not unstoppable to me from what I've seen at the start of this year. Like there are some things that you can do to bother them. There's a lot of things that the Celtics are going to have to do better going forward. So, there's no doubt in my mind, Noah, that they're going to come out and unload on the Sixers if they're fully healthy on Wednesday. But
let me ask you about this, segueing into the Sixers here and coming out of a Magic loss. And both of you, I think, had the Sixers as maybe the Celtics' toughest opponent going into the year.
You'd love to remind us that.
What about the Magic, though? I mean, if let's assume health. I will keep reminding you. But let's assume health.
It's too hard for me to picture what they look like at full health because they haven't been healthy all year. But they've been able to morph to different styles, as Noah said, and their offense isn't good enough, even at full strength. I don't think they could win 4 against the Celtics, but could they push it to a 6 on brute force and great defense and all that? Maybe. It definitely wouldn't be one of the easier matchups in the East. In fact, this is one we were worried about last year, right? Because it was that Game 7 between Orlando and the Cavs, and then the Cavs snuck out of it. It was another rock fight. It was the biggest rock fight series you ever see. But we were actually looking at saying like, ooh, I don't know, the Magic might actually be the team out of this that you don't want to see. And of course, the Cavs kind of fell apart health-wise there, but this wouldn't be a great matchup for Boston, Noah.
No, it wouldn't be. And honestly, like you could just look at the last few years. Last season, tough, NBA Cup game lost in Orlando. It kind of reminded me in some ways of this one. Previous season, they lost, I think, 2 back-to-back on a 2-game homestand versus Orlando. Lost both. So they have their number a little bit. It's not. I wouldn't be overly. I would still predict the Celtics would win that series. But looking at the East and how things have shaped up, this is one of the tougher teams. And the fact that they've been able to hang in there, despite the fact that they've been without their starters, just as a credit to how much they're more than just a couple of players. And that's the Celtics are their best too. And we talked about this a million times, but when the Celtics don't have, Tatum and Brown and all there's been so many games over the last year and a half where they've missed stars and they just don't miss a beat. And that's when there's a really great team, that it's not just one guy or 2 guys, but it's just the system. I think Orlando has a little bit of that. So I'd put them up there. I don't know that I would say they're the number 1 most difficult team. I think we need a little time to see where Milwaukee goes, where these other teams kind of settle. But right now in this moment, I would love to avoid Orlando in a playoff series.
All right, we're gonna move on. Goodbye, Orlando. When do the Celtics play Orlando again? That might be a fun one. We'll have to figure that out. We'll get back to that.
Let's see.
It's not for a while.
All of a sudden,
January 17th in Boston.
Oh, maybe really in Boston? Guess I was wrong.
When is it?
A couple weeks. January 17th.
Weeks.
When they come back from their road trips.
Hit up game time for that one. I'm sure that that'll be a very entertaining game. But before that, we got another entertaining one on Wednesday. Philadelphia 76ers coming to town. They've had an interesting year, to say the least. Embiid was ejected from the game tonight. So I think that's going to increase the chances that he can give it a go on Wednesday, right? On Christmas. I know that he's been in bubble wrap all year, but
they won tonight.
Is anything shifting for this Sixers team that makes this game a little bit more intriguing? Or Bobby, you said it I think a few minutes ago, the Celtics should blow the doors off them on Wednesday in Boston. Are you standing by that?
I think so. Coming off a loss like this, a stretch of games where you didn't play your best, and if Tatum's back in particular, coming off the game he just came off there, I think this is a matchup you've mostly owned in recent years. It's a Sixers team without a strong identity, and especially a second unit that I think is super vulnerable between Yabusele and Gordon and some of these other guys, KJ Martin, that they bring off the bench. I think Martin started tonight, so they have like a starting lineup spot in flux too there. We're getting to the point, Noah, and I said this for the first time this week, and we were both obviously high on them coming into the year, but even with the Embiid stuff and George's in and out health and Maxey missing a long stretch of games, they kind of look like they are who they are. Like a thin team that one guy goes down and you're in ginormous trouble. A team full of new guys who don't quite know their role or know how to play off each other much yet. This is not a good team right now. And there's holes everywhere. Embiid is not his 100% health or 100% self, clearly. I don't see any way they win this game. Not to say that again, but
I don't get that this is a thing that people say about basketball games. Any team can beat any team in the NBA literally any night. Of course,
even the Sixers.
Yes, absolutely. Like
the Celtics.
The Celtics
we're really gonna.
The Celtics.
We're gonna have a bad show Wednesday, Jimmy.
On a 27-game losing streak or whatever it was. Anything can happen. This is basketball.
The Celtics it's like tradition. The Celtics just beat the Sixers. It's a tradition.
Right. I mean, I think they're gonna win, but I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be looking forward to postgame, that's for sure.
It would be an awful loss.
That would be an awful loss. That would ruin Christmas, I think, for a lot of people. Well, hopefully the Celtics.
I mean, you're right, Noah. Maybe Embiid goes off. He did go off last game that he played before this. And Maxey's playing great right now. And George is a threat, even though he hasn't looked like himself this year. I mean, so there's a formula of those guys going off and getting a good role performance alongside those guys that I guess could catch the Celtics. But their defense, there's just so many holes on it. I think the Celtics can target those spots and,
Yeah.
create their threes and find the Sixers in rotation and all that. Like, it's just, obviously it's not impossible, but it's hard for me to imagine them losing this one, especially on that. We know this is when they bring their best, especially Tatum, who's coming off a volcanic game. So if he's good to go, and who knows how sick he is.
I like that.
I mean, he was crazy, Jimmy, just out of this world. And Noah said it that night, and it didn't really hit me until later. It was one of his better games ever.
Is volcanic the new phenomenal?
I know. I feel like I need to one up you with one.
I feel like a word was
I'm gonna
born
find a new word.
saying volcanic.
Yeah,
I just think I'm looking forward to this game because even if they're this team, and I am way more down on this team, even if they're all healthy.
Now,
I think
no,
they're all
if they sit Embiid, George, and Maxey,
no, I can't. I don't want that to happen. I can't do the whole like the stars aren't playing on Christmas and the discourse. I just want to see a fully healthy Celtics team versus Embiid, Maxey, and Paul George, who have played together 3 times this season. So it's been so limited. So we would be very lucky as fans of the sport to get to watch their 3 best players at TD Garden on Christmas. Hope it's a great game. Hope the Celtics win. I think they will. But I think anything can happen. I mean, I'm not.
There you go. Volcanic. We need a new hat. Listen, the Stars will be playing on Christmas Day with all the ratings talk and the issues with that. Going
Even if
around.
Tatum's throwing out,
they'll do whatever they want to do, though. I don't think Embiid is worried about.
I'm telling you that Adam Silver has sent a very stern notice to each of the 10 teams playing on Christmas Day, making sure that they are aware that the Stars will be suited up to play, not suited and booted, suited up in their jerseys to play on Christmas Day, because now you're competing with the NFL. The NFL just said F you to the NBA. They're trying to steal some of the ratings. NBA needs to put a good product out there on Christmas Day to say, hey, we're still effing here. And people still love the NBA, and they're going to watch it on Christmas Day. Now, I know that the NFL is still going to blow the ratings out of the water. That's just what they do. But I think you're going to see the Stars on Christmas, and I think you're going to see the Celtics rebound nicely. I mean, they did it.
By the way, can I say something about that? I don't get this whole NBA, NFL. Everyone's freaking out about the NBA right now. Every week I turn on the NFL, it stinks. Every player's out. Guys are getting hurt left and right. Knees are exploding. Legs are falling off.
Quarterbacks suck.
No one can block. The quarterbacks are all throwing it around everywhere and don't know what they're doing. Like, the NFL product stinks. Every week I watch the 1 p.m. slate or 4 p.m., depending what time the Celtics are on, before or after, and I'm falling asleep. And last week I was going to Celtics Wizards, and I was excited for that after the 1 p.m. slate.
You're like a basketball.
And the Pats don't help us, Jimmy,
different.
obviously.
The Pats don't help us. The only thing saving the NFL, not the only thing, but one of the reasons, Bobby, is because people are obsessed with fantasy football. I got Amit.
They're obsessed.
I got Amit in my ear because he beat me this weekend in fantasy football. I got John.
There's money flying
Zanis
everywhere
in my ear
on the NFL.
Money's flying around. I'm losing it all. I'm out now, so the NFL can go screw as far as I'm concerned. But that's what it is. I mean, people are just obsessed with their fantasy football teams. Gambling has taken off too, right? That's changed everything. So football is one of those things too, Bobby. It's it's like 4 times a week now, but it's typically like a Sunday thing.
That's a good point. There's
You know
more
what I mean?
anticipation for the games.
There's build up, there's preparation for it. There's 17 games, so they count a little bit more. The basketball season can be a grind. Same with hockey, same with baseball, right?
There are a lot of games.
A lot of games, and that's never going to change. They're never going to be less games, right? Because that's less money for the owners. That's less money for the players. It is what it is. It was the way it was designed. Football, they're gonna every few years they're gonna slide another game in.
They're adding more games too now, and that is not helping them.
They're adding more games. They're adding more weeks. They're gonna friggin' put a team out in Europe someday. Like, they're trying to do everything they can. Which, listen, their business. They're trying to maximize their profits like any other business, but the products do seem to be slipping a little bit. You're having the Chiefs. I think it's the Chiefs, Steelers, Ravens, and there's a 4th team that I'm blanking on, but I think it's like 3 games in 10 days for those 4 teams. Tell me how
Wednesday.
that is.
What a joke. What are the
Yeah.
other games Wednesday for the NBA? We got Knicks,
Yeah.
Spurs. I'm glad
So you
Wembanyama's
get
on there.
primetime Wemby. That'll be fun. A lot of people will be watching him for the first time, and they're going to be like, "Holy hell, this guy!"
I can't
is
believe the Thunder aren't playing on
insane."
Christmas. That's so messed up.
And the Bucks were very mad. They talked about
Yeah.
that this week.
You'd rather see the Thunder than the like Nuggets or
The
Suns.
Thunder were
in
the number
West
one
too.
seed in the West last year, so it's just
But they don't have
you
the,
gotta.
they don't
Yeah,
have the
but
market,
that's
the star power.
yeah, but I don't. I mean, I don't. I actually really don't watch any other sports, so I try to. When it comes to comparing sports, I don't want to wade too far into it. But how come the OKC is like a small market that nobody can care about, but then like Kansas City is obviously mainstream stars? Like why in the NBA do we have to act like just because you're a small market? It's like it seems like other sports don't have the same attachment to New York, LA, Boston. Like they're willing to elevate any team that's good. I think you got to run with the fact that Thunder's teams that they were the number one seed last year, they're the number one seed this year. Like they got to play in the big matchups because then nobody's going to know or care about them when they're there in the conference finals. Like
Yeah, I mean, there's
like
some
all the
truth to it.
casual fans, they have to see them in those moments.
There's some truth to it, and obviously SGA is like a rising star, but he is in a market, and OKC is just one of those teams. There's no history behind OKC. Kansas City is rich in history and tradition in their football team. They have a rabid fan base. I'm not saying that OKC doesn't, but they also have arguably, Pat Mahomes obviously is a huge NFL superstar, multi-champion, Super Bowl champion, and they also have Taylor Swift's boyfriend on the team. So there's a little bit of a national audience there, even though the market might not be the same. So I'm not even going to say his name. I'm just going to say Taylor Swift's boyfriend. I'm not even going to say his name. Because I'm a Gronk guy. I think Rob Gronkowski is twice the tight end that Taylor Swift's boyfriend ever was or could be. And so I want to make sure that I make that clear by calling him Taylor Swift's boyfriend.
I will not be.
And I'm a
watching
Taylor
football
Swift
on
fan.
Wednesday.
That's why. Noah, can I be a Taylor Swift fan?
I'm a Taylor Swift fan.
How many times does the girlfriend get called so-and-so's girlfriend? Why don't we switch it up? Let's give the girl some power this time.
You sing some Taylor Swift, right, Jimmy?
Let's lift the women up. Yeah, I sing some Taylor Swift, Bobby. Absolutely.
Have you guys seen the discourse about whether or not Embiid should have charged at the female ref because she's a female?
No.
Charge.
I have not seen that.
You haven't seen the clip where Embiid like goes at her and we were like, you shouldn't have done that. That
Well,
she's a
Grant
girl.
didn't Grant go? Grant wanted to like
Grant
fight one of the female
bumped her.
refs.
Yeah.
Like
Got
was that
suspended.
2 years ago?
Yeah.
Man, time flies.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
I
like
forgot
chased
about
her
that.
down he actually chased her down the tunnel. It was unbelievable.
I find
But
that
hey,
so sad.
don't want to
Grant's-
discriminate. Hey, bad
Grant's
ref's a bad
final
ref.
year.
Stripes are stripes, zebras are zebras, man.
The
You're either
Embiid
good or you're
ejection
bad.
was confusing, and then they made a mistake on the Drummond one. Wacky
Drummond
season.
coming
I mean,
back from the
sometimes
ejection is an all-time moment.
What's
again,
that?
no, I said it earlier. Sometimes you just are who you are. Like as this bad stretch goes on and on and on, and there's injuries and whatever else is afflicting them, that just becomes your season sometimes. Jimmy, I'm guaranteeing it right now. We're gonna be
Okay.
sitting here in April, and they're gonna be the 7 seed or 8 seed, whatever it is, and John's gonna be
Sixers?
like, "Ooh, you don't want to see them round one," just like with the Nets.
No, John's been out on the Sixers though.
Or
But that would
whoever.
that would be a tough draw though. Yeah, for whoever. Yeah, absolutely.
But
No, there are a
just
few
like
teams
with that Nets team, you are who you are sometimes.
So Christmas Day, we got Spurs Knicks at noon. I love the noon tip off. You just kind of like maybe you got like a little mimosa
It's
at
a
this
good
point.
game. It should be good. Spurs are playing
gifts-
much better.
Gifts have been open. The in-laws aren't quite over yet. You got like another hour before like all hell breaks loose. Just got an hour. Just chill, watch the first half of this basketball game, enjoy it.
The
Or the
12 always
court gets
hurts me
crazy.
because my aunt that I go to in the morning/afternoon usually doesn't have an easy TV setup for me to get to, but I think I should be able to get on my
She
phone.
doesn't have like ABC. I mean, that's like I feel like that's something like Noah would tell us.
Yeah, it's not easily accessible over there.
That's too
Well,
bad.
we're gonna
Bobby.
be TD Garden at like 2:00 anyways, Bobby. So.
That's true.
And
So
not
then
me.
you got
Oh, you're not working on Christmas?
No,
won't be
I'll
there?
be there as
he's
late
just not
as I
going to be there
possibly
at
can.
2:00.
Oh,
Joe-
I guess the game's at 5.
Yeah.
Joe
You just
does
kn-
not have enough enlightening stuff for me to be booking her over there. on
Pre-game has
Christmas
got
Day.
less and less and less and less like important to even show up for. I hate to say it.
It depends.
This
We've had a lot of Joe availabilities recently, but we're about to not have a lot of Joe availabilities for a while. So I think people will maybe utilize those more. But it's like the worst
Why
time
is
to ask
that?
questions. Just because we had a bunch of days off, so we had practice every day, and it's like
Oh, I see.
when you see him for practice every day, like there's already nothing to ask, and then you see him the next day for a game, and it's like you certainly don't have anything to ask. So
Christmas
this is not
Day
the time.
Christmas Day game is a fun vibe. It's just obviously you probably want to spend it with like some loved ones before you head over to the Garden. But then we got Timberwolves Mavericks at 2:30. I can probably like miss that game. I don't really. I mean, I know that there's like Luca.
It has fun potential.
It does. It's just it's a weird time. It's a weird time. The 2:30 game. There's a lot going on at 2:30. Then
Yeah,
you
I'm
got
kind of
one
obsessed with the
moment.
Timberwolves train wreck right now. They're
Yeah.
like my favorite team to follow, just because
14 and 14. Yeah, Ant's been going off in the post game recently.
Yeah.
They overthought that trade, I think.
One of the only
but
guys who
this time.
talks. Yeah, isn't that interesting that all of a sudden the Timberwolves are struggling and the Knicks are heating up here? And a lot of people are saying Cat's inching up into that MVP talk. A lot of people are
I haven't
saying
heard a lot
that.
of people say that.
There's
He
starting,
was
there's
sixth.
starting to be some whispers. Starting to be some whispers.
He was sixth in that straw poll, right behind Luca.
Oh,
If
So,
the
I mean, he
Knicks,
is
if the
climbing up a
Knicks
little bit.
if the Knicks keep chipping away here, my Knicks. I mean, the Cavs kind of blew it for me, but the Knicks are righting the ship in front of our eyes.
If
The
you
Knicks are-
said Cavs instead of Knicks, you'd be bragging about it every night.
I know the Knicks are righting the ship. So that's another team that you got to be very careful of. Physical team, right? Are they still physical? We're kind of on the fence.
They don't
on
concern me as much.
that. Okay. Then I guess
Just
I guess
because.
all right. Then I guess we don't have to talk about the Knicks. They don't concern Bobby.
No, I mean, if you see them in a series, you're gonna be like, all right, this isn't gonna be easy. But the thought that they might be that team that knocks off Boston this year, I don't think is as threatening, just because their defense has slipped so much with Towns, and that's the other side of Towns, right? You're getting this monstrous offensive output, but he's not a great anchor for your defense. And I don't think they've been as great of a shooting team as you would have expected with their 5-out approach and all that. So there's a long way to go with all this stuff, but I'm not as high on them as I was to begin the year, probably. But they're gonna get Mitchell Robinson back
She's
too,
gonna
and that'll
fax
change
my.
some things.
She just faxed my doggy. I'll do it for her. Fax my dog. Next is Lakers Warriors at 8:00. That's like what Noah doesn't like. It's like two teams that aren't any good, but because they're big markets and popular teams, they get like a prime.
The
time
old
Christmas
school
Day game.
guys.
Yeah, you're getting. No,
you gotta have Steph and LeBron play on.
You're getting the
Christmas.
Team USA heroes, so you kind of got to give them some love, right? 8:00 game, Lakers Warriors. Who do you got in that one though? That's like two teams that are kind of middling right now. Not really sure which way they're gonna go. Nobody really wants to play them, but
Lakers.
That's been another
quietly up
fun
to
struggle
fourth.
to watch. Have you guys seen all that stuff with Steve Kerr calling out Kuminga and Pajemski post game? I feel like the
Why don't you-
Warriors and the
why don't you
Timberwolves are
tell
the
us?
ones that you should tune into the Timberwolves. You should tune into their post game pressers because there's been a lot of drama. So
why don't you give us the spark notes of the Warriors drama?
the spark
For
notes
those-
is that Kuminga and Pajemski are sometimes operate as primary options, I would say, when Steph Curry is on the floor and potentially has a clean look. And so Steve Kerr kind of used a post-game presser the other day to call them out. Didn't say names, but it was pretty evident who he was talking about, when he was talking about people kind of taking bad shots. And then I think today he actually did say names when he was asked about those comments. Podemski responded via an Instagram story where he explained himself. So it was very interesting. Yeah, this has been
is
a
drama.
fun little. This is
Yeah,
good
my
drama.
bad
Yeah, I feel
tweet
like we're
too,
not
I
locked
think.
in enough on some of the Western Conference drama that we almost need to have a little.
Can we do a
roundup
drama?
because
Yeah, can we do like a drama segment, like maybe once a week, a roundup,
I would love that.
spill the tea type segment? Okay, we're gonna do
Well,
it.
there's a couple Western Conference teams right now that are kind of a mess, like the Kings too.
I don't like Phoenix either.
Is there drama over there though?
Denver almost no, but it's just the same thing we've been watching for 2 years with them. And then
Oh, Denver has drama too. Actually,
Denver
if-
almost lost to New Orleans last night.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
They-
remember
they
watching
pulled it
like a
off.
Warrior. I watched like a Warriors game a few weeks ago, and Podemski was like out, and people were like pumped. Like Warriors fans don't seem to like.
the
him.
Warriors fans hate him.
Yeah.
I hate seeing, no matter even if there's validity to it, I hate seeing an entire fan base like turn on a player that last year they loved him. They were like he was the steal of the draft. So,
Celtics
so
fans don't do that.
No, they won't turn
you
on.
think they do it, or are you being sarcastic?
Sure.
Number 40,
Number
Who's
40.
number 40?
Luke Cornett.
Oh, I didn't even know that. That wasn't even.
And then
I don't know
lastly,
anybody's
Nuggets.
number.
Nuggets Suns 10:30. That's the late one. People are like kind of dozing off for that one. You've had like a few spiked eggnogs at that point. Not you, Noah. Some people.
Yeah, I do love eggnog.
Do you?
I
Are you an
forgot
eggnog
about it.
guy?
Yeah, I haven't had it
It's a
at all
weird
this
drink.
month.
It's a weird one.
Yeah, it's
I feel
probably
like
a once a month drink. or
it's
once
like
a
a
year, rather.
once. It's kind of like a 3 sips, and you're like, all right, I've had enough. I think I'm good without the eggnog.
There's some that are better than others, like the brand and where you get it from and all that.
Little cinnamon. They'll sprinkle a little cinnamon on there.
It's good.
Do you guys ask for anything for Christmas? You expecting any like good gifts or anything like that? You got anything like open for Santa or anything? Noah,
My family doesn't
guys-
do Christmas.
do you do something else?
We just do birthdays. We don't really celebrate any of the holidays. We just do like a meal.
I should have just known that. I just should have known something wild was gonna come out of your
Yeah.
mouth.
Big on birthdays though.
Big on birthdays. Well, yeah. I mean, I guess congrats on the birthday. Like everybody has one. Wait, but it's Jesus's birthday.
Yeah, so
You know
Wait,
what I'm
so
big on,
you've
Jimmy?
never done a Christmas tree?
no, we'll look at like we might do a tree this year.
What do you mean? It's like you might do a tree this year. You have like
It's like
3
a game
hours.
time decision. Like sometimes my dad comes home on Christmas Day, Christmas Eve with the tree. Sometimes he doesn't, you know. I'll find out
Okay.
It's not-
tomorrow.
I mean, we got a tree way too early this year, and it's like done. So
It's a real
it
tree.
may not be the worst idea. Yeah. Although I don't know
Yeah,
if
but,
they were
like,
all bad this year because of
But you want to like
how dry
you
it
got
was
to
and all
kind of
that.
enjoy the tree for like if you buy a tree on Christmas Day, you get the tree for like
You can
7
enjoy it for a
hours, and
week.
then it's like- yeah. Interesting. So no, you
The
don't have to
foot-
spend any money. That's pretty cool.
I know. It's kind of nice.
Wait, so is it just so Wednesday is just like a Wednesday?
It's the same as Thanksgiving. That's the best way I could put it. Like we'll do like the Thanksgiving vibe, you know.
Okay, yeah, it's like a meal and stuff, but not
Yeah.
a turkey, obviously. But
No.
what do you get? What's
The
the
gift
what's-
stuff gets out of control.
What's the spread in the house? What's the spread looking like
We'll see.
on Wednesday?
Game
No.
time decision.
No candy, no desserts.
Maybe.
Jimmy?
Bobby, what are you doing for it?
Well, I'll answer your first question because
Okay.
it's changed over time. When you're young, the worst gift you could get was socks. You got socks growing up, and you're like, "Oh, this
just-
sucks."
You
Socks.
just moved on to the next thing. Yeah, you're just like, all right, yeah, socks, got it. Okay, next.
Now, I can't wait for a new, fresh pair of socks. That is awesome.
I
Great
actually
feeling.
asked for socks too. I'm gonna be completely honest. I think I got
I
think I
need
got like a
socks
3-pack
bad.
coming.
Whether it's
What kinda-
socks for the gym, some nice socks for the games.
Just order
I
them
mean,
on
I got holes
Amazon.
in some of it at points. I haven't
You
had a chance
support-
to, and I'm assuming there's going to be some socks coming my way tomorrow, which I'm very excited
you
about.
So keep us posted.
You just can't go wrong with socks. I'll toss my socks up on the Twitter maybe. Maybe
I feel bad. I just bought my roommate socks. I thought it was a good gift.
it is. No, we're saying like
It
as
is.
you get
We're
older.
saying
it-
now that you're older, it's one of the best.
Oh, I see.
Plus,
Yeah.
I'll say this: like the sock game has changed. Like 30 years ago, like you just got socks. Like you just got like stocking socks, like white or whatever. Now there's some high quality socks out there. I'm not going to give any free ads out there because if they want it, they can pay us. But there's some good companies out there that specialize in some good socks. All right, I'll say Bombas is one. They're a good sock company, but it's expensive. It's getting crazy. Like like big socks are like.
Big socks.
Big sock is taking over. I mean, they're really trying to get you. Like it's like $15 for one pair of socks. Feels like a little extreme. $18-20 for a
I
pair
like
of
the
socks.
polo socks. Those are pretty expensive too.
Nothing wrong with socks. I'm getting a pedal board, which is like for a guitar. You put the pedals on the board, which is like pedal board where you comes, but you like kind of like attach them to the board, so you don't have to like set them up every time you go to a gig. They're already like attached, so you just kind of show up, put the board down, and just plug in the end, and you're good to go. So I'm taking it to the next level next year. I think that's going to be something that I hope I get anyways, that I think I'm going to get. So anyways, to everybody watching at home, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, happy any other ones that are floating around this week. The Celtics do fall to the Orlando Magic. Any final thoughts before
I forgot there was a game tonight, honestly. So
yeah, never happened. But we're gonna get Bobby and Noah from the TD Garden on Wednesday. You guys gonna be in like red and green? Or are you gonna like get a little festive,
No.
Bobby? I feel like you'll do something. Bobby will do something.
Yeah,
I know
I'm
Bobby.
working
He's gonna
on
do
it.
something. He's working on the
what
fit.
do you mean you're
Christmas
working
fit.
on it?
It's the Christmas fit, Noah. You gotta bring your A game on Christmas.
Like Jimmy
Day.
said, I'm gonna be one of those people who's out and about tomorrow, trying to string some
Yeah.
stuff together last minute. So
Yep.
it's gonna
Maybe
go for me too.
Maybe the mistletoe, Bobby. Bring a little mistletoe action. Who knows? Anything goes under the mistletoe. Celtics fall 108-104 to Orlando Magic. We're not even going to talk about that anymore. Happy holidays. I think John will be on Wednesday. I think he's going to jump on. We'll have a big
In
Christmas
between,
show on Wednesday.
does he do
When does the
pies for
drama
Christmas
segment
too?
start?
We're going to do them on either the Friday or it's going to be a Friday night or a Saturday weekend game
Okay.
segment.
I'll come prepared.
Yeah, we'll start it next week or
Sounds
this
good.
week, whatever it's your segment. You tell us.
Okay, I'm ready.
So last thing I'll say is thanks everybody for watching and staying up with us tonight. Appreciate it, especially around the holidays. You guys could be with your whoever, family, loved ones, but we consider you all family too. So you're our Celtics family. So we'll say happy holidays to everybody. And we will see you Wednesday. Noah, Bobby at the Guardian. I don't know where Sherrod's going to be. He'll be floating around. John's going to be on the show, probably in between, like Bobby said, baking like 14 different pies that he does. We'll do some Christmas talk. We'll do some game talk, Sixers talk, and that'll do it. No, you guys have a great night, great Christmas, and
Good luck
Amit,
tomorrow.
good luck. Yep, everyone, good luck tomorrow. It's like what's that movie where it's like the Hunger Games, but tomorrow's like the Hunger Games for the people who haven't done their shopping. Guys, just remember, it's all about the Christmas spirit. All right, just try to be good. Amit, hit us with the outro.
No one's sneaking a vegan brownie by me, I'll tell you that.
Okay, you know what, John? We're gonna do it.
You have to feel that way too, Bobby.
I have to
Same.
feel that
Same.
way. Let's
Yeah.
slide out over and make Luke your first center.
Bobby, we gave you Luke hour early. We are not going to end this on a damn conversation about Luke